Picture this. Your company just got featured on a massive morning talk show. It's the big break you've been waiting for, right? But then, a million people decide to click the link on their phones at the exact same second.
So, let's look at Section 1, the cost of going viral. Sure, your front-end web servers might handle that initial connection perfectly.
But then, boom, your backend database instantly spikes to 100% CPU. It literally melts down under the pressure. Your site goes completely offline, and just like that, you've lost millions of dollars in potential sales. It is a total nightmare scenario. Why did this happen? Well, it's because you forced your system to do the exact same hard work a million times in a row instead of working smart. To survive a massive traffic hit like that, you absolutely must master caching. In this explainer, we're going to quickly cover the cost of going viral, how caching acts as a performance cheat code, the roles of CloudFront and ElastiCache, a massive architectural trap you need to avoid, and finally, a rapid-fire exam recap. Caching really is the ultimate performance cheat code, especially if you are tackling Domain 3 of the AWS Solutions Architect exam. All right, moving to Section 2. Caching, the performance cheat code. Let's build this from the ground up, starting from absolute zero.
At its core, caching is simply short-term memory. Think about it. If I ask you what 2 plus 2 is, you don't break out a calculator, right? You already know the answer. You saved it in your brain. You don't need to do the math again. In cloud architecture, it's the exact same concept. If a million users ask for the exact same homepage or the exact same database record, your system absolutely shouldn't be recalculating it a million times. That is a massive waste of computing power. It should just hand them the saved answer instantly. So let's dive into the 2 heavy hitters in AWS caching that make this possible.
Section 3, CloudFront, our global shield. First up is Amazon CloudFront. This is a content delivery network, or CDN. Basically, it's an edge networking service. It takes your static files, we're talking your images, your videos, HTML pages, and it places copies of them in hundreds of edge locations all around the entire world. Think about it like a global newspaper. A publisher doesn't force everyone in the world to travel all the way to New York just to read the morning paper, right? No way! They print millions of copies and put them on local street corners worldwide. Now, what happens if you don't use this? Well, a user in Tokyo has to pull a massive video file all the way from your single server in Virginia. The global network latency is just horrible, and your Virginia server gets completely crushed under the weight of the entire world's traffic. Think about that for a second. It's a disaster. But with CloudFront, CloudFront catches that request right there in Tokyo. It hands the user the video instantly, and your main server in Virginia never even knew the user existed. Oh, right? Now it clicks. CloudFront is literally a shield that protects your servers while making things lightning fast for your global users. Okay, Section 4, ElastiCache, the database lifesaver. But hey, what if the problem isn't static files? What if the issue is heavy, complex database queries? Well, that brings us to Amazon ElastiCache. ElastiCache is a high-performing in-memory database cache that sits directly in front of your primary database. Think about it like a sticky note on your computer monitor. Your main database is like a massive, heavy filing cabinet down in the basement. It holds absolutely everything, but man, it is slow to search through. ElastiCache is that sticky note right in front of your face. You just write the most popular, read-intensive data right on that note. What happens if you don't use it? Every single time a user logs in, your primary database has to grind its gears and search through millions of rows. It becomes a massive bottleneck. Now imagine this in your system. Instead of asking the database for, say, the top 10 leaderboard scores 10,000 times a second, your app just asks ElastiCache. ElastiCache serves that data straight out of pure RAM in a fraction of a millisecond. See? ElastiCache absorbs all that heavy read traffic so your actual main database can finally breathe. Which brings us to Section 5, and this is absolutely crucial, the architectural trap. Listen closely because here is exactly where people mess up. People constantly mix up where these 2 services actually live in the architecture. And let me tell you, this is a massive engineering trap. CloudFront lives at the absolute edge of the network, right next to the user. ElastiCache, on the other hand, lives deep inside your private network, right next to your database. If you try to use ElastiCache to speed up image loading for a user in Australia, it will fail miserably because that user still has to cross the entire ocean just to reach your data center. The geography just doesn't work. And on the flip side, if you try to use CloudFront to cache complex, personalized database queries, you're going to accidentally cache personal data at the edge and end up showing user A's private banking details to user B. Absolutely disastrous. So how do you actually choose the right exam answer? It's simple once you know the trick. You choose CloudFront for global, static assets, and edge caching. You choose ElastiCache for read-intensive, high-performance database workloads. If you are taking the AWS Solutions Architect exam, Domain 3 heavily tests your ability to design these high-performing database and network architectures. Do not miss this trap. AWS loves to give you a scenario where a relational database is overwhelmed by heavy read traffic, and they will totally put Amazon CloudFront as a multiple-choice option, just to trick you. Listen, never pick CloudFront to fix a database bottleneck. The answer for a read-intensive database bottleneck is always Amazon ElastiCache, or maybe a read replica. But if the question explicitly states that global users are experiencing high latency when downloading images or media, the answer is always an edge networking service like Amazon CloudFront.
All right, Section 6, Rapid-Fire Exam Recap. Let's do a fast, punchy summary of what we've covered. Caching prevents your architecture from doing the same work twice. CloudFront caches files globally at the edge, while ElastiCache caches database queries internally, right in memory.
Here are your 3 rapid-fire takeaways. 1. Use edge accelerators like CDNs for static web content. 2. Integrate caching services like ElastiCache to offload read-intensive database access patterns. And 3. True high-performing architectures completely decouple the heavy lifting by using both of these services together.
And before we wrap up this explainer, here's your final trap. Never cache data forever. If your database updates, but your cache doesn't, your users are going to see old, stale data. Always configure expiration logic to force your cache to wipe itself clean and fetch the fresh truth. Keep that rule in mind and you'll be golden.